morning. It's Tina Ann, and here we are back for day 2 of our morning happiness morning. Having a cup of coffee with the Queen of Happiness in the morning. We're going to call, like I said before, I'm thinking Cafe Diem. Seize the cup. This is the moment the chance to seize a moment in the morning to focus on having a good day, getting our minds right, getting into the habit of being happy, learning the skill of being happy, practicing every day to be happy. That's what we're doing. That's what we're going to talk about today. So Tina Ann, the Queen of Happiness. Who is this self-proclaimed queen, you ask? Well, the Queen of Happiness, reigning over the state of happiness, has been my alter ego, or my nickname, or my AKA for about 12 years now. And it started out as a little bit of a joke. Now, the Queen of Happiness makes you think that this is someone who is always happy, right? But a few years ago, I was not. Well, that's a different story. We'll talk about that in a minute. But 12 years ago, I was very unhappy. I had built the life that I thought I wanted to live, and yet I was in a marriage that was not making me happy. I was in a job that I dreaded going to every day. I thought I had arrived. I had a great house, a great job, an active member of the community, growing happy children. I thought this is what I asked for, this is what I got, and this is what I should be happy about. But in the end, it was not that happy. I did what I was supposed to do. I was raised, I don't know about you, I was raised to suck it up, right? To make sure that everyone around me was taken care of, to always have a happy face, and no one wanted to hear your troubles, so cover that up and keep going. And so that's kind of how I operated. I lived my life. I made the best of every day. I felt like I was happy. I thought I was happy. And then I realized, it started dawning on me that I wasn't that happy. That the facade of happiness was different than real happiness. You hear the term fake it till you make it. And I personally am one who advocates that in situations when you need a little backbone, or you need a little help, and you need to be a little bit of an actor. And we'll talk about that on another day as a technique, or as a tool to help you get through a moment. But hey, fake it till you make it's great for a situation, but it's not a lifestyle. It doesn't mean that it's not the way we choose to live. So this began a very long journey of self-awareness, of brutal honesty, of starting to examine happiness, my own happiness, and coming to, sometimes it's a hard path to realize that this is not what we wanted, and now what do we do about it? So it was a very long journey, brutal honesty. I used my career as a process engineer, right, to attack the problem of happiness. The problem doesn't matter, the process is the same. I used a problem-solving technique that insists that the very first step is truly understanding your problem, right? Truly understanding your situation. What's causing it? What is it? How does it look? And as I started looking at my happiness and I started thinking about it, I realized that as a society, I said yesterday happiness was a skill. I truly believe that it's just something like anything, a muscle that you can tighten, a skill that you can learn to do better. But with that said, happiness is not a skill that we are taught. None of us is taught, or few of us, I won't say none, few lucky ones, most of us aren't taught about happiness. We all know how successful you are. We can measure how much money you make, how big your house is, how big your cars are. We can talk about how successful you are socially. How many friends do you have? How often do you go out, right? How big is your circle of influence? And so there's a lot of ways we talk about success. But when it comes to happiness, we don't have a common language. We don't have a common measure. We're not taught at the beginning of life, or through life. We're not taught, how to listen to that little still voice inside of us. We're not instructed on how to use bliss as the barometer of our decision making. We grow up fragile little people, trying hard to please everyone around us. And then all of a sudden you wake up and you're an adult and it's time to reevaluate. And happiness starts with understanding happiness for you. Because let's face it, it's not the same thing. One size does not fit all. Happiness is about what makes you happy. And this is about being aware. I'll call this happiness awareness. Another thing I think we are never taught as young people is happiness awareness, right? To think about happiness, to think about where it fits in our life, what priority do we give it, how do we use it as, again, as a barometer or as a decision maker. And I don't want to give the impression that there's no place for logic, that I'm denying the part of conscious decision making. I'm not talking about that at all. I'm talking about when you want to make a decision that's right for you, that takes you in the direction that makes your heart sing, that puts you in a position to have actions every day that you love, that you're passionate about. Having a life that you want to get up in the morning and can't wait to seize the day, seize the cup. Those are the things happiness are made of. And so I guess what I want to do in my little mornings with you, in my little happiness mornings here, is talk about that priority. Put that in front of you. Make it a priority so that as you go through your day, as you're thinking about things, you are one of the things that counts. You are one of the priorities. I'm learning a lot these days about mindfulness. That's a big word thrown around a lot, right? Mindfulness is like being present in the moment. Being, I'll say, objective in that you are able to step back and observe a situation and think about it objectively, not with your emotions, but with the lens of what's best for you, what's best for the world. These are the happiness skills that we need, we want to develop. I want to help you with. Good morning, Hannah. Anyway, these are the skills I want to talk about, is how do we stay happy in an unhappy world? How do we make choices that are true to ourselves? How do we know when that choice is true to ourselves and we're not doing it because we think we should or someone thinks we should? It's a complicated conversation because again, we're not taught this, we're not taught to put this as a priority. We're not taught to put our happiness in the forefront or to use it as any sort of decision maker. So how do you do this? So that's the quick question is, well, how do I make happiness my decision maker, right? Well, the very first step, just like the very first step in solving any problem, is understanding it and having a clear and concise understanding so that we know what we're talking about, right? So when I say you want more happiness in your life, then you start thinking about, do I want to be happier in each minute? Do I want more happy moments? Do I want to change the way I go about my day? A lot of questions to say. And the first question is, what is happiness? Again, we don't have a common metric. We don't have a common measurement of how happy are you right now, 1 through 10, right? That's a made-up measure, but this is what you have to start thinking about. This is where you have to start putting yourself. And then you have to say, okay, but how do I know how happy I am right now? So that's the next question is, okay, 1 through 10. I think I'm about I don't know. What is a 4? What is a 3? What is a 10? This is the start of the question, and I'm going to give you a couple hints to get started. Because this is what we want to focus on today. How do I know when I'm happy? You ever have a moment where you're doing something and 2 hours go by, and yet when you look up, it feels like 10 minutes have gone by, and when you look up, 2 hours have gone by? That's a pretty good indication that you're in a zone, that you're doing something that you're just so passionate about, you're so focused on, that the whole world disappears for you. There's days when there's situations or things are done or said and you can't stop smiling. You feel light. There's no weight on your shoulders. It's easy to stand up tall. Sometimes it even feels for me like my feet don't touch the floor, like I'm kind of floating. These are the signs I look for. These are the bliss. These are the things I look for, the ways to know that when I'm so absorbed in something, so captivated, so interested in what I'm doing that everything else disappears. That's flow. That's being in the zone. That's being in the flow. That's having it all ready for you. So, where did this Queen of Happiness come from? Who is this Queen of Happiness? Self-proclaimed. That's exactly right. I started to tell the story. Years ago, I wasn't so happy. I was talking to a friend. I was trying to describe this. I'm not used to this. When the going gets tough, the tough go shopping. I'm usually someone that can cheer myself up, and for some reason I could not at this point in my life. Because while I talk about happiness, and happiness is a choice, I've been on the other side. I do know that there are times when we forget what our happiness even feels like. When life is so overwhelming that we can't see or choose happiness because we don't know where it is or where to go. And this was where I was at this time, right? This place where I couldn't remember how to be happy. None of the things I loved to do made sense to me anymore. I couldn't find my joy. I just was so busy getting through every single day, living my life, doing the things I was supposed to do. The drumbeat of life that I didn't even think about happiness. I didn't think about it. But I was raised to put on that happy face. So when I was talking to a friend and I said, I think I'm depressed. I'm not sure what that is. I think I'm depressed. And she said, you can't be depressed. You're the Queen of Happiness. We laughed and didn't think much more about it. But then over the next few days, this little voice started speaking in my head. A little voice that I had never heard before. A little voice that kind of had an English accent. Kind of sounded like the Queen. The Queen of Happiness knows people are depending on her, I heard the voice say. The Queen of Happiness knows that inactivity will lead nowhere. The Queen of Happiness knows action is the answer. The Queen of Happiness knows people are depending on her. She was relentless. She kept speaking. She knew who I was. She kept talking. Finally, I started listening. I started getting up. I started moving. I started making changes. And it began a very long journey that led me to where I am today, the happiest in my whole life. A journey of self-discovery, a journey of some awareness, some journey of peeling back the layers of the onions to get down to who I truly want to be. What does it take to truly be that person? Even if that wasn't the person that I started out thinking that I wanted to be or that everyone expected me to be. So the Queen of Happiness came into existence, and I like to say I like to reign over the state of happiness. Reigning over the state of happiness is, so, self-proclaimed. How can you be the Queen of Happiness? Here's the idea. Anybody can be the Queen of Happiness. We're all the Queen of Happiness. We all have our own state of happiness, and we all can choose to reign as king or queen in our state once we decide to. And just like anything, if I decided tomorrow I wanted to be a better singer, those that know me, that's a joke, because I've always wanted to be a better singer. Anyway, let's say I decided to. That doesn't mean I'm going to be a better singer tomorrow, because I decided today, right? A skill means you got to work at it. means you got to learn about it. So that's what I did. I jumped in and I started reading about so many things, but with the focus on finding myself, finding my center, finding my bliss, finding my happiness. And here, 12 years later, the Queen and I are still friends, and she has made it my mission to make sure that you reign as the Queen of Happiness in your life, or the King of Happiness in your life. That you claim your kingdom, that you claim your throne, that you make it happiness a priority. And together, I'm hoping this morning, cup of coffee in the morning with the Queen of Happiness, I'm hoping that what this becomes is a chance to learn about how to make it a happier place. And so, excuse me this morning, because I am not as prepared as I was yesterday, but I want to read to you. Well, I wish I had been smarter and said I was going to say to you, but I'm actually going to read it. Oh, and again, you know what happens when I read. And this is not a poem. How about this? So, I just want you to know there's a new kind of queen in the world today, the Queen of Happiness. And it's you. You strive for a free heart, a light spirit, and a zest for life that is present and observable in every moment. The Queen of Happiness has mastered a new level of happiness, a continuous, enduring, ever-rising joy, so that she has become an inspiration to all around simply by living in the present, in every moment, and under any circumstance. The Queen of Happiness not only does not feel guilty about choosing her own happiness, but is keenly aware that indeed the universe is waiting for this. She knows every religion expresses bliss as connection with Source. The Queen of Happiness wears an enduring inner glow because she knows who she is, what her happiness looks, feels, and tastes like. She has a firm and clear compass by which she is able to make all decisions, large and small. The Queen of Happiness reigns supreme in her own life as she is secure in knowing her duties are her own choice, just as moment by moment happiness is her choice to make, and not based on circumstance, financial, or success. She knows her bliss is based not on social media standing, but on confidence in her intrinsic value. The new Queen of Happiness reigns magnificently over her own state of happiness, and that Queen of Happiness is you. So, that's what we're trying to create here. I want you to join me in Live the Fates as I use a combination of motivation, inspiration, poetry, comedy, practical tips and tricks, things you can put into immediate use to live the life of the Queen, starting today, no matter what your circumstances. So, this is what we're doing together. We're having our coffee in the morning. Cafe Diem. Seize the day. We're going to start the day off by standing up straight. And this is tomorrow, Monday. Join me Monday because we're going to talk about exercises for the first thing in the morning. Today I've so far just kind of talked about what we're going to talk about, right? Join me Monday as we talk about how to get up in the morning and set the stage for a great day. And then each day we'll talk about something that has to do with happiness, choosing happiness, recognizing happiness, making hard choices for the sake of happiness, the benefits of happiness. I could go on. But I'm going to leave you today with a short poem. Oh, another poem? Oh, shocking, Tina. Here we go. And on our series, a poem today is a poem I wrote 25 years ago, a long time ago. I sat down to write a poem about living our lives. And sometimes when I write, I don't know what's going to come out. It just flows out of me, just channeling, right? Just listening to the ether, just listening to the universe and to the universal lessons and laws that we all live by. And try to put them, for some reason, for me, I'm compelled to put them into rhyme. So that's what I do. I take ideas and I put them into rhyme. So the rhyme for today, the poem for today is called Choices. And I kind of think of this as my signature poem. The Queen of Happiness is the poem that I point to all the time, to how it all started. I wrote a poem called The Queen of Happiness, and we'll read that eventually. And that's where she came from. But this is truly my signature poem because it encapsulates my philosophy on life. And that is this: you have the power to choose happiness all the time, in every minute of every day. So this poem is called, funny enough, Choices. Our lives are a series of choices we make, a product of the paths we take. Each day a fresh start from beginning to end, a chance each time to begin again. We create the person we want to be. Our actions are our legacy. The manner that we choose each day defines our lives along the way. To offer kindness, unexpected assistance, though it's not requested. Deciding if you'll give all you've got to give determines the life you elect to live. The days, then weeks, then months, then years grow into a lifetime, and soon it appears that you've written the story that now bears your name. The sum of your days and your choices became a book wide open for the whole world to see. Make sure it's the tale that you want it to be. So on that note, my friends, Cafe Diem, seize the cup, seize the day. Step into your badass suit. Put on a smile. Stand up for yourself. Make it a happy day. That's all from me. See you Monday at 7.